Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome to the Board of Aldermen's meeting for Monday, September 16th. First order of business is minutes of the previous meeting.
Move to approve.
Second. Any changes? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We are outside the rail to address the board on matters that is not on the agenda. First, we have Joe Tilden from the bus, who just wants to give us an update. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Get my stuff here.
Yeah.
I'm your representative to the Board of Commissioners of the Rutland Regional Marble Valley Transit District, serving both Rutland and now Windsor counties. And the report for the fiscal year, we had 103,744 passengers fiscal year 19. Of that, the way it breaks down, 292,379 were here in Rutland City. And our biggest place outside of Rutland City, of course, is Killington. We had 284,633 passengers for fiscal year 19. Our biggest month of the year is February. In the month of February here in Rutland, we did 106,467. And our most used route is, surprisingly, it's the North Route, where we had over 7,000 passengers on the North Route. Now, at the beginning of this year, the Connecticut Valley Transit went belly up. And so we were required to take over Windsor County. The transit company out of Bennington, which is called Move It, took over Windham County. And we've been having a little trouble getting set up in Windsor County. We now have an office down there. We've rented store space for an office. We now have 3 full-time employees and 1 part-time. We have contracted with a gas station to refuel, but for service, the buses still have come back to Rutland. Our biggest problem down there is the methadone situation. We're running 6 buses a day, 7 days a week to take care of our methadone our people. Now, when West Ridge went in Rutland to take care of the methadone distribution, New Hampshire shut down West Lebanon, and they just recently reopened it. So consequently, we're running 3 buses a day out of Springfield to West Leb, and 3 down to the Brattleboro Retreat. And I think some of you remember, before we had West Ridge, we used to take people down to Greenfield, Massachusetts. Well, the state of Vermont contracted with the state of Massachusetts to house some inmates at the lockup in Greenfield. As you know, they went on a riot, and they did quite a bit of damage down there. So Massachusetts bid Vermont farewell, and they don't want to see us again. Consequently, for methadone now in the southern part of the state, we have to go down to Brattleboro Retreat. So we're running 3 buses a day from Springfield down to Brattleboro. And as a professional courtesy to the transit company in Bennington, we also pick up clients through Bellows Falls, Westminster, Putney, and Dummerston. And then down the Brattleboro Retreat. But they have to be at the bus stop. We don't go up to their house and pick them up or anything like that. Well, as you know, Medicaid only reimburses $34 a person a week. And that might cover 2 or 3 trips, but by the time you get that 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th trip, it's on the cuff. Back here in Rutland, we have made some changes with the Diamond Run Mall almost becoming a memory. We've eliminated 2 runs at Diamond Run Mall, and we've attached them to the Killington route. We have temporarily canceled 2 runs from Ludlow, 2 midday runs. On one, we only had 1 passenger, on the other, none. And we're going to resume those after Thanksgiving when Okemo opens and the skiing business is back, and we'll be giving Ludlow full service again. Now, we're required by statute, every time we change a route, we got to have a public hearing. So on this Ludlow situation, we had a public hearing. We had one in the morning and one in the evening, and you know, these are attended like some of your public hearings here are attended. We had a guy come in from Proctor that had a few things. We'll say, you know, this has got nothing to do with Ludlow, but we heard him out and hopefully sent him away happy. Some things coming up, and I think this is in the next week, the Spartan Games are going to be taking place up at Killington. And it doesn't get much play around here, but it apparently does in the nation, because the promoters of this race have asked us to set aside 7 extra buses to accommodate the crowd that's going to go to the Spartan Games. And I would imagine, attendance-wise, these Spartan Games are probably going to be coming very close to matching the ski championships that we have Thanksgiving weekend. And that is another thing we'll be taking care of. We also provide a service to the hospital. A person comes in the emergency room, and they get discharged at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. We've been providing transportation home. Now, we had an incident last winter, lady up in Benson, the driver took her home, and there's no one at home to take care of her, and the driver had to hang out and, wait till a family member came. So now that's a requirement. We're going to pick up a passenger. The hospital has to make sure there's somebody at home to take care of them, and they have to make sure they're ready to go. You know, you don't call and another half hour later you're waiting to pick them up. Now, we thought this would be a rather limited operation, and we had 1 driver and 1 bus on call. Well, that has grown. We now have 2 drivers and 2 buses on call to accommodate the business that we have with the hospital. I think probably we have a couple of electric buses somewhere in the pipeline. Last time we had electric buses, you know, we had a problem with it, couldn't make West Street Hill. So these 2 new electric buses are coming in. What we're planning on doing, the first one will be used as a shuttle for the students at Castleton University, taken from Rutland to Castleton back. And the other one, it may go on the Fairhaven route. The problem with that is we go from Fairhaven to Pulteney, and as you go down 22A, you know, there's a big dip, goes down a hill, you got railroad tracks, and there's a climb up. And we'll see if the bus can make that. If it can, you'll probably be using the electric bus on that route. The electric buses would be no good going up to Killington or going down to Mount Holly. They just don't have the power to make the hill. So basically, we have purchased more property down on Spruce Street. We are going to expand down there, but that will have to wait until the financial picture is a little bit more rosy. We're doing very, very well in Rutland County. We're not doing so well financially in Windsor County. And if you've been following the papers, as you know, where some of these mergers have taken place, some of these public transit companies now are sliding a little bit. For example, the CCTA in Burlington. They took over Green Mountain Transit, which is Montpelier-Barre, and they also took over Franklin County, which is up St. Albans. And the result is that they have taken a financial hit to the point where they've had to increase their local fares around the metropolitan Burlington area by 25 cents, try to balance out the budget. And they've also eliminated their transit for all that we have for emergency transits and stuff like that. That's been contracted out to an outfit in Milton. But after our fiscal year, I think we're doing pretty well. We're looking at growing our board, as we've had a number of resignations on there, but we're hoping to get a few more towns involved. According to our charter, every town that contributes has the right to have a seat on the board. And right now, it's Rutland City and Proctor. And we also have Killington and Castleton University, and we're looking at adding a few more. So that is the picture for fiscal year 2019.
Great. Thank you,
Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you.
And I want to thank each and every one of you people for being willing to serve the public. There's nothing more satisfactory than serving your community. And I thank you all for getting involved and wish you the very best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Much appreciated. Are there any questions for Joe about? Great, thank you so much. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
We are still outside the rail for anyone to address the board on matters not on the agenda. If you just state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Chris Liskey, 17 East Center Street, Rutland City. Madam Chairwoman, Mr. Mayor, Aldermen, friends, community members, I'm here to advocate and announce that the Harvest Festival on behalf of the Vermont Farmer Food Center is this coming Sunday from 3 to 6. It's an incredible event where we have about 250 people there to celebrate our agricultural heritage. It raises about 50% of our general and administrative budget. As many of you know, a bunch of farmers and some community members got together about 5 years ago to buy that blighted industrial center and turn it into something special. So we've got we host the Winter Farmers Market. Rotary donated an $80,000 greenhouse where we're working with about 400 Rutland City Public School kids. We have something called Pharmacy, which is servicing about 150 families with healthy food and much, much more. $25, you got cash bar, huge auction donated by local artisans, and the community business. You get a meal with that, buffet meal, beautiful, chef cooked, let's see here, and all food donated by the local farmers from the farmers market, and live music. It's just going to be a really good time. So you can get tickets online. We'll have a tent at the farmers market on Saturday, and we would love to see everybody there, especially members from the community. It's a wide array of people who show up and, just have a good time and celebrate the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate the update. Anyone else outside the rail? Yes, ma'am. If you just state your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, hi, I'm Karen Rands. I live at 142 Merchants Row. I live downtown. A few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, I was standing at the crosswalk out here by the side door of this building, waiting to cross the street. The traffic was clear. I walked into the first lane, and a car came down the hill, Strong's Avenue. I went right through the crosswalk, right in front of me, right by the sign that says, "State law stop for pedestrians in crosswalk." And that happens, and that doesn't usually upset me. But the car behind it was a marked city cruiser with a uniformed officer in it. And then a few weeks after that, same thing, I was waiting to cross the same crosswalk, and a car came this way. It's slowing down, it's going to stop. There's a car coming down the hill. Oh, it's slowing down, it's going to stop too. And so I stepped out, and a car came around this one and almost clipped me with the middle of his bumper. So I've been talking to some people who are downtown a lot. They live downtown, they work downtown. Lots of people agree with me that we need to have maybe some attention to enforcement. Maybe it starts with public awareness, and maybe it ends up with a few blue lights. There's some other concerns as well. Bicycles on the sidewalk. Bicycles are actually vehicles, and they belong in the street, and there's laws about signaling and which way you ride in the traffic. People don't know that, so we need maybe a little bit of public awareness. Speeds down here, morning and evening, where it's going to be getting dark really soon, is another concern. There's some other concerns about right turns on red. So I'm not here to say, here's a problem. I have all these people who've signed. It's not really a petition because nobody's going to vote on it. There's nothing to vote on. But there are two sections of the state law that have to do with pedestrian right-of-way. And when I spoke to an alderman who's a delegate to the safety committee, I was told that the chief doesn't want to enforce these two provisions. So I'm perfectly capable of writing a program. I'm willing to work with the delegates to the safety committee. I think that if there's still a group of cyclists that want to promote biking to work and bike safety, there's probably funding out there, small amounts of funding that can be gotten for something if we've got the right time frame for it. But it's an issue, and people do get hurt.
have a couple of questions. Alderman Wood.
Just as a quick follow-up, I do want to say this is an issue that's troubled me for quite some time.
Yeah.
And this coming Friday at 9 o'clock at the police station, the Traffic Safety Committee meets, and pedestrian crossings are on the agenda.
Good.
So we're going to be looking at that. We're going to be looking at some data that's been collected by the police department, and hopefully from that, we come out with something that we can start to do.
So there is data, because that was one thing I was wondering. There is
Yes,
data.
so that is there this Friday, 9 o'clock. That's going to
Okay.
be discussed.
Okay.
It
Anybody
meets
have some
monthly.
questions?
Does someone else have their hand? So, Matt, there's no need to refer anything because you're saying that it's already on the agenda, pedestrian crossings or pedestrian safety?
Yes, that is on the
Okay.
agenda. This.
Bicycles and skateboards, there are a number of merchants, especially on Center Street, who have told me, and then a woman today who's legally blind and in a wheelchair said she almost got hit by a bike. They come down that hill apparently on the sidewalk. If you take a look at the sidewalk there, it's just dangerous. But skateboards, you can hear. Bikes, you don't know they're coming.
Right.
And really, pedestrians, that's great. There's this other component to it too. Please don't forget the right turn on red because people are looking this way. Yeah.
So, Alderman Mattis?
I would move that we send the issue of bicycles on the sidewalk to the Traffic Safety Committee as well.
And right turn on red, apparently there's some issues.
Yeah, people get,
Second.
All right, we have a
Scared
second.
about
So the
that.
motion is to refer to Traffic Safety Committee. It's been seconded. Is there any other debate? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. So your issue has been referred to Traffic Safety Committee. Alderman Whitcomb is informed that this Friday, there is a meeting
Yes.
at 9 a.m. and in this building?
Police station.
Police station.
Police station.
Okay. And then when the next issue is referred to the agenda, if you give your information to Alderman Mattis, she will make sure that you're aware when the bicycle issue and the right turn on red become on the agenda for traffic safety. Okay?
It can get put
Yes.
on the agenda for this Friday.
Oh, okay, all right.
wonderful. I'll give you a card. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Is there anyone else outside the rail to address the board on matters not on the agenda? Seeing none, we're moving on to communications from the mayor. Mayor Allaire.
So, good evening, everyone. I do have a couple of things I wanted to touch base with you tonight. One is FYI, and in a run-up to budget season, several members of the administration, including Bob over here, and I have met with Efficiency Vermont and Green Mountain Power. We wanted to, as you might recall, why don't I start here? We, last year, had done a preliminary Rutland City Energy Report and given it out to the Board of Aldermen. It was more of a holistic report on some of the larger things that we might be looking at over the long term. But this year, I was hoping to put some of those ideas into action here in the short term as well as the long term. So, we're interested in learning about the incentive programs and starting points for improvements, in particular here at City Hall. Insulation and air sealing were identified here in the city as the first focus. Efficiency Vermont proposed what was called a deep energy retrofit program, which will be able to deliver anywhere upwards to $45,000 to $60,000 of incentives, depending on the scope of the measures installed. Of course, that's long-term. We're looking at doing this incrementally, starting out with the building envelope. They recommended that we engage with a local firm to do some studies on our mechanicals, as well as as I said, the envelope itself. Also looking at the lighting, and as I said, the mechanicals and the thermal envelope. So in the short term, we're going to coordinate the introduction of a local weatherization contractor. A contractor will come in and provide a quote for us for a walkthrough and scope out the development for any work that we could do here at City Hall. And they'll also send out some frequently asked questions for a deep energy retrofit. So what I'm trying to think about doing here is in the short term, with the money that we've already had budgeted, some things that we'll be able to figure into the budget season this year, and then lay out a plan for the next 2 to 3 years and have a discussion about that during budget season this year. So some of the paybacks look like they're pretty substantial. 2 to 3 years, perhaps upwards of 50%, depending on what the work is that we're done. So I think that's a good starting point, and it's something to think about as we're going into budget season. The second thing I wanted to talk about real quickly was you might have read in the Rutland Herald recently about the opioid litigation that's going on here nationwide and with the Attorney General's office. I have actually had an opportunity to meet with the AG's office twice in the last 12 months. And with the recent events, the AG turning down the most recent settlement and just a lot of activity on that front, I thought it would be a good time for them to come down and brief the Board of Aldermen on exactly where that litigation stands. I think we stand as a community to see some remuneration and some of the money that we've had to put forward addressing the opioid crisis is what it is, and it affects all walks of life here in the city, certainly how we do business. So I actually was on the phone with the Assistant AG at 6:30 tonight. He agreed that he would be glad to come down sometime in October. What I'd like to do is ask if we could refer the issue to the Committee of the Whole, and I'll set up a time with him that's convenient for him, and we'll get everybody in. I'd like to do it on a time that we don't have the full board meeting, so we could, focus on that one particular issue. So if we could refer that issue to the Committee of the Whole.
Alderman Tory.
Move the issue of the opioid legal litigation to the Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Is there any debate on the motion to refer? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
And finally, one other thing, we are approaching the time of year where the Vermont League of Cities and Towns have their town fair. It's going to be the 2nd and 3rd of October. We don't meet again until after the fair. Last year, I was asked to be the voting delegate to the annual meeting, which is on the 2nd Wednesday. So it's up in Killington. It's on Wednesday. There's always a request to have the legislative body appoint the voting delegate. So if it's all right with the board, I would like to request that you appoint me as your voting delegate to the annual meeting at the Vermont League of Cities and Towns Town Fair.
Thank you.
Move to suspend the rules.
Second.
All those in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Alderman Gillum.
Move to approve the mayor as our representative,
Voting delegate.
voting delegate for the League of City and Towns annual meeting.
Second.
Any debate on the motion to nominate the mayor? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
And that's it.
Any questions for the mayor? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, we have a couple additions to the agenda, if you would so move them. First, we have Angel Walk, a children's walk to bring focus on child hunger. And we have an outside consumption permit for Tasso's. And we have 3.
Well, we may just have one agenda item to add, and then
Okay.
depending on where the conversation takes us with a couple existing agenda items.
Okay.
So the one that I would ask that you add would be a request to authorize DPW to guarantee payments to consulting engineers involved in the March 2019 bond projects.
So if we could add that. So we have 3 items to add. Is there any debate on the motion to add those 3? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Closed, motion carries. Now, let me just check with the city attorney. So at this time, we are not adding any executive sessions?
I think they're likely, but they would be related to items that are already on the agenda.
Okay, Alderman Dupre.
So can I just make a suggestion that we keep additions and deletions to the agenda open for now until we figure out whether
Right.
the city
Well,
attorney wants to
We can add
add
it at any
those?
time, correct?
Yeah, I think we can go into executive session regardless of whether it's on the agenda. It would be, normally, the sole agenda item is an executive session, like we'd be talking about litigation, we wouldn't have an open discussion about it at all, but for instance, if we decide to go into executive session after your report, that's fine without, a warning. We could have your report, and then if the board would like to go into executive session to discuss the topic, that's okay without adding it to the agenda. It's already on the agenda.
Okay.
All set? Okay, so we're on to reports and letters from department heads and officials. First, we have Barbara Spaulding, RRA, authorize the mayor to sign grant agreement and circulate resolution for signature. And I believe Barbara is here. And this is a Vermont Community Development Program grant agreement for Rutland City. What's your pleasure? Alderman Tory.
Move to suspend the rules, take the issue up tonight.
Second.
All those in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Alderman Tory.
And move to circulate the resolution regarding the VCDP grant for the downtown strategic plan for signature.
Any debate on the motion to circulate for signature? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Alderman Tory.
Thank you, Madam President. It would behoove us to recognize Barbara Spaulding. She was asked to be a speaker at the Grants Management Compliance Symposium, which is part of the VCDP program. She is the only person who does not work for them that is presenting there. And I think the city owes her a great debt of gratitude for our compliance with all these grants and helping us get the grants that we've gotten. So,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Barbara does a wonderful job for this city and
Magic Barbara.
saves the taxpayer. Okay. So we have a circulation for signature.
Correct. Do we also authorize the mayor to sign? I didn't hear that motion.
Circulate this.
Circulate for signature
And
only. It's just the grant resolution. Barbara, do we need the mayor to sign as well, or just the resolution?
No.
Just the resolution.
He's already listed in the actual document.
And we got that, that's going around. Okay, next up is Brennan Duffy, Director, RRA, BIAP, request, Reekaroo's Children Care.
Yes.
Not sure I said that right.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. So as you read in your packet, I have a memo there that's just describing another new business that's going to be opening up here in the city. This is called Reekaroo's Minis. They're going to be operating in the house scale in a currently vacant space there. And they will be serving infant and toddler age youth in a childcare setting, looking to create 9 new jobs in the city. The applicant is funding this through her own savings as well, so she's looking to invest about $20,000 into the fit up there and is seeking a grant through the BIAP program for $5,000 to help with that fit up cost. And the RRA board has reviewed this and is recommending to the Board of Aldermen to approve that BIAP funding.
Thank you. So we need a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
Second. Thank you. All those in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Your pleasure. Alderman Ryan.
Yes, move to approve the $5,000 grant of the BIAP grant to the Reekaroo's Minis program.
Okay. Second. Okay, do we have any debate on the motion to approve the BIAP grant of $5,000? BIAP.
She's not here tonight, is she, Brian?
I do not see her here tonight, no.
Because I sat through that RRA meeting and I just, with her description of what the money was gonna go to and what her expenses were, I mean, I would love to hear a little more detailed list of what that $5 grand was gonna go to. Because she put one lump sum in that meeting going towards the owner of a building that she's about to get it occupied in, and then kind of didn't list what the other $5 grand was worth. That's my only discussion. I had the pleasure to sit through that meeting, but just wanted a little more detail. That's why I wish she was here this evening.
Okay.
Yeah, she was invited. I don't see her here tonight, but.
Any other debate? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Treasurer Markowski, August Treasurer's Report. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you. For August, just looking at cash balances, we have in city accounts, we have 9.6 million in cash, and that really reflects the two collections. We had water and sewer the 1st, and then taxes the 31st. So you'll see that drawn down when we pay the education tax, $3 million transfer that you'll see at the end of September. I just want to note on the delinquency report, I mean, collection is just ongoing. Delinquencies are high. We have several letters out for tax sales, the 30-day letters, so we'll have some tax sales scheduled in October, but, you know, tax sales are really the last resort. We're looking, when we're scheduling tax sales, we're looking at how many years delinquent, the balance, how many years since we've seen a payment, are we seeing some good faith payments in the current year, and working with the taxpayer. So I just want to point that out. So we're going to be targeting some of those balances in water and sewer over 2,000 to try to get some folks in. Maybe we can do some payment plans, do something, and also in taxes before the balances are unmanageable, really. So to change that a little bit this year. I mean, we'll continue with tax sales, but I just wanted to point that out. And Katie Langloy in the office, she does a great job on collections. Pooled cash, looking at the proprietary funds, the water fund, sewer fund, and parking fund all have positive cash balances. The transit fund still lags a bit, but I did note, I compared the amount due to the city in the transit fund. This year, it's 105,000 due to the city. Last year, it was 153, so we're making some progress there. So I thought I would point that out. Looking at your balance sheet and income expense statement, still working through some year-end adjustments. So, you know, as you're looking through those, there could be changes. So I looked at the unassigned fund balance. It's right on target where we had projected when we set the tax rate. And expenses overall are right at target where you would be 2 months into the year. So at the end of September, I'll provide a little bit more detail for how each department is in the first quarter. Looking at the RRA, the cash balance in RRA is about 100,000. The RRA currently has about 25,000 in the fund balance that is set aside for different grant projects, 4 different projects, I believe. And then other things to note in the treasurer's office, I just want to thank John Coffin. John Coffin has worked for the city for 12 years. He just left, finishing his role as our internal auditor, so we miss him already. He only was working one week a month, the first week of the month reconciling, so he'll be missed, but he provided a lot of great internal controls. So I have already reached out to our auditors to make sure that we, you know, maintain the controls that we have in place, and you know, how we're going to move forward with that position open. So, and I apologize, I had hoped to have numbers for June, but I do not, and I will try to have them at the next meeting.
So we'll stop right there. Is there any questions for the treasurer of the August report? Yes. Alderman Troy.
Not a question so much, but the transit center, tomorrow we have finance committee to meet with the LAS representatives to talk about the budget. So if anybody has questions about that.
Alderman Wickham?
I did notice the delinquencies seemed higher than normal.
Yeah.
In your experience, is this an abnormal high, or is this within a normal ebb and flow?
I feel like it is, and we had a lot of taxpayers last year that just didn't make payments in 2019. So I think that was unusual. There are a lot of them that, you know, when we're watching that delinquency as soon as we close the year. Everything for 2019 is delinquent now. So we're going to reach out to those folks. We're not going to wait for 4 years and then say, hey, what's,
Right.
so, yeah, I think the delinquencies are high, and also in the water and sewer, and I don't know if that's a result. I mean, we haven't been able to set up payment agreements where Gail was working really hard on those, and so we're going to get back to that and reach out to those water and sewer. I don't know if it's a result of Fathom or not, so spend a little bit more time on that communication.
All right, and we have the Zamias Fund update.
Okay, so I thought I wanted to give you the information that we had on the city's books for Zamias Fund, given the closing of the mall and where the fund stands. So the cash balance in the fund for end of August is about $168,000. Of that balance, almost $78,000 is set aside for different projects. So when you're looking at cash, if you're considering disbursements from the fund, you would want to look that there's $90,000 available. Right now, receivables, there's $49,000 due to the city for rentals past due. So, and then long-term, if you're assuming no other rental payments, payments for this Zamias, there's about $448,000 deferred. So if a payment was due to the city for the anchor stores and those stores were not rented, then that amount that was due is deferred to the end of the term.
Right.
So I provided you with the terms of the document and how that deferral is calculated and the payout. So the should be paid by 2022. However, the balance is high, and the installments can't be over 100,000, so it would go on. But
yeah.
But in the agreement, that money is due to the city. Yeah. So I provided you with the balance sheet for the books, payment schedule of what was due, what's been paid, and the calculation of the deferred amount. And I also think it's nice to look at what things the city has been able to do with that Zamias fund over time. So.
Great, thank you. Any questions of the treasurer regarding the Zamias account? Okay. All right, thank you, Mary.
Hey.
Okay, next up is PD and ZA Kelly. Municipal Planning Grant Application, excuse me, request to circulate resolution. Kara, welcome.
Right, thank you. So there's a municipal planning grant, which you may remember is a state fund that comes from the Agency of Commerce and Community Development. It's available to fund a number of different types of actions by the city, but one in particular that it specializes in is plan updates and zoning updates. So we had tapped into this grant program back in the 2016-17 timeframe to rewrite our zoning. We did outreach around that, we gathered input and got to a place where we realized with all the goals that people wanted to achieve with that, that we really needed to do a rewrite versus a tweaking of what the existing document was. That work was completed successfully. The Agency of Commerce and Community Development was happy with the progress that we made under that grant. And now looking forward at the adoption process of reviewing it and figuring out really what further discussion is going to be needed before we can get to the point of adopting the draft that we have. There's two key points that I see need some deeper discussion, both with all of you, other stakeholders, but also the public at large. So we have a vision of where we're headed, because regulations really are meant to implement a vision. And without that vision, we can just have disagreement all day long about what the goals are. So the two places that I see that's in your packet is the issues with our gateway districts and how much to regulate or not the level of design and building design, et cetera. There's definitely different opinions about that, and it's worth a discussion. And then the second area is the denser housing around our downtown. It's been a problem. My colleague Bob over here chases the problem all day long. It boils down to the way our ordinance is written today. And I think there's a way that we can go forward without completely just giving up the idea of having any density around our downtown, because of course, there is some need for some density around the downtown if we're going to continue to have a vibrant downtown and population base. So those are the two things that I would like to focus on if this municipal planning grant was approved by the state. And tonight I'm here before you because to even submit the application needs both the Planning Commission and the Board of Aldermen approval of submitting the grant application. Okay. So happy to discuss or ask you to forward to circulate.
Great, thank you. Alderman Torrey.
Move to suspend the rules, take the issue up tonight.
Second.
All those in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Alderman Torrey.
Move to circulate the municipal planning grant resolution for signature.
Second.
Do we have any debate on the motion to circulate for signature? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Now we are on to City-Owned Properties Committee, recommended sale of 37 Pine.
Right. Okay, so 37 Pine Street, many of you probably remember that a number of years ago, the city demolished the building that was on that property. It's been sitting vacant since then. There was, at the time NeighborWorks was redeveloping their property, some thought about merging those two lots. The purchaser of the newer property didn't want that much land, so that didn't occur, and so we remarketed the property. The committee met and reviewed the applications that we received, and our recommendation is that the neighbor that owns 35 Pine Street, he does not live there, but it's a property he's owned for a while, be the awarded or allowed to purchase the property. His plan is to fix the retaining wall that's between the properties and then keep the land open, potentially planting trees, he says. So essentially, following a bit of what the housing needs study tells us about that neighborhood in particular, that if there was a demolition, if there was a vacant lot, that it may be in the city's best interest to allow that lot to stay open for some period, into the future. So that's the recommendation of the committee, and the sale price is $4,005, and there's some recommended language on the back if you're so inclined to approve it.
Alderman Whitcomb.
Move to suspend the rules.
Second.
All those in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Alderman Whitcomb.
Move to authorize the sale of 37 Pine Street to Philip Frasica for the purchase price of $4,005 pursuant to 6-2 of the Rutland City Charter, and to further authorize the mayor to sign all sale-related documents.
Second.
Is there any debate on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. And last, we have request to change development plan 118 Gibson Avenue.
All right, so now on the flip side of the equation, there is a property that we sold to the Billedoos. They own a couple of properties here in town, and by all rights, they do a nice job with it. They always get their certificates of occupancy. Their property's in good shape. They purchased 118 Gibson from us a little more than a year ago. They've been actively redeveloping it, and I don't know if the pictures made it into your packet, but I do have photographs of the work they've been doing. It did make it in?
Yep.
Okay. So, they're making good on their word of doing a large renovation, really getting into the weeds of this building. And as they're doing so, they decided that rather than flip it, which is what their original intention had been, they would prefer to keep it. And but in doing so, and looking at their business plan and their business model, it made more sense for them to retain the duplex status versus fully convert it to a single-family home. So there's a letter in there that describes their thinking, what they experience as landlords and why they are moving in that direction, and I guess I open it for discussion. And Steve Bilodeau is here with us if you have any direct questions for him.
Sure. Thank you. So we need Alderman Torrey?
Question.
Okay.
This makes sense in this case for this house. I'm concerned about the process.
Sure.
And so I don't know what we might do with that. So I don't recall when we looked at this sale,
Okay.
what the other options were out there, and that we chose this one over the other ones. If we had chose this one primarily because it was going to be a single family and that was our interest, and we put away, we put to the side, or we tossed out one that was keep it as a duplex but offer us more money, but here somebody got in, you know, and then changed it. I'm concerned about that part of our process. I don't know if there's anything we can do, so that's more kind of just out there. This absolutely is the right, I think, the right way to go into allowing this to be a duplex again. But it goes against what we've been trying to do, which is either single-family residential or owner-occupied duplex. And so I don't know if it would be, I mean, is it possible, maybe this is a question for the city attorney, is it possible to put another deed restriction on that it could only be sold to somebody who would live in it and rent out the other side? So that it's flipping it, but it's flipping it as a duplex. What?
So, Alderman Humphrey?
I understood that the intent was not to flip it at this point. That they're gonna keep it
as a rent.
and maintain
You're right.
it as landlords and rent out both units.
You're right, so that problem's moved. You're right. So I'm concerned about the process piece of this.
Yeah,
In this case, it makes sense. You have a giant house, you're not gonna be able to rent it to a single family and keep it in the good condition. I get that.
And I do understand your question. I don't know what to do now that we're at this point, though.
Right. So we need a motion, Alderman Matters?
Motion to suspend the rules?
Second. All those in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Alderman Matters?
And I move that the board authorize Mayor Lair to sign an agreement between the city and RTL Gibson LLC that states the change of plan outlined in the memo.
Second. Is there any debate? Alderman Humphrey?
So I went through the same thought process this afternoon as Alderman Torrey just mentioned, and I think I agree that this is the right thing to do in this instance, and I think going forward, we need to continue to move these properties as they come up. I think we did what we planned to do, and this is a one-up kind of situation, and Tara brought it to us, and I think that's the best we can do is bring it back up and have the opportunity to have the discussion, and in cases where it doesn't make sense. And I would ask, if this does happen again, as Alderman Torrey said, kind of having that, rehash that discussion of what were our other options and were any comparable to this. I mean, at this point, the work is already started, so it's not like you can backtrack anyways, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak on it, so.
Anyone else? Not, the motion is to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Next up is reports from standing committee. First up, we have Alderman Clifford, Public Works. Alderman Clifford is away at a work detail, so Alderman Kamala, who is vice chair, will be giving the report.
Thank you, Madam President. DPW committee report for the meeting of September 9, 2019. Chairman Clifford called the meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. Present were committee members Attore, Clifford, Tomala, and Gillum. Other aldermen present were President Davis, Humphrey, and Whitcomb. Also present, Attorney Bloomer, Treasurer Markowski, Commissioner Wenberg, Business Manager Garuso, Assistant Treasurer Holmquist, Bob Flaherty, Vice President, and Jason Bethke, President from Fathom, and Gordon Dricillo. Chairman Clifford invited Commissioner Wenberg to introduce the representatives from Fathom and brief the committee. Commissioner Wenberg distributed a memorandum and asked the Fathom representatives to address the committee. Mr. Bethke began by offering an apology for the recent billing errors associated with the water and sewer utility conversion project. He said he would speak to the specifics later in the meeting, but wanted to assure everyone that the new water meters are accurately measuring water use. The initial problem stemmed from a software error that caused the communication of the water use to be inaccurate in some cases. Commissioner Wenberg ran through the content of the memo. He explained that the conversion from NEMRIC to Fathom corrected a large number of errors in the old billing system. Business Manager Garuso provided the committee with several examples of errors. One was the Ground Round Restaurant that for 10 years had been billed for 1/100th of their actual water use due to an incorrect entry in the old system. In addition, Ms. Garuso showed the committee how the new meters have improved our ability to answer customer questions about their bills or water use. Commissioner Wenberg told the committee that the online customer portal was working well and that the work order was preferred by the department staff. He said 76% of all the meters had been replaced since February, and nearly all of the remainder should be completed by the end of October, which is on schedule. Mr. Bethke from Fathom explained the sequence of problems that had occurred with the billing. The communications issues required the issuance of hundreds of estimated bills in July. The problem was identified and the manufacturer, Itron, sent a team with Fathom employees to Rutland to reprogram the radio devices. Itron and Fathom have confirmed that the devices are now operating properly. Fathom and the city wanted to perform additional testing of the communications and billing systems before the October cycle. Testing went all the way to preparing the electronic billing files. One of the Fathom team members erroneously sent the data files to the print vendor without the required approvals, and the print vendor printed and mailed the test bills without the required approval from Fathom. The result was almost 3,000 bills arrived in the mail that were never intended to be sent. Mr. Bethke said that new procedures have been put in place to prevent this from happening again. Alderman Tomala asked if the equipment error was unique to Rutland. Mr. Bethke said yes. Alderman Tomala expressed concern for the security of the data being handled by the Itron system. Mr. Flaherty explained that the data does not include any identifiable information. It contains a meter reading and a meter serial number, not addresses or names. President Davis asked if the problem had been fixed. She explained that the public trust in the accuracy of the system was gone and needed to be reestablished. Mr. Bethke said the radio communications problem was fixed and it was continually being tested. He agreed that they had to restore confidence in the accuracy of the bills. Ms. Garuso described the work now underway to look at the bills individually and investigate anything that looks like a discrepancy. Alderman Nattori expressed great frustration with how the project was being managed and that he had lost confidence in Fathom. Mr. Bethke said he understood the frustration at the mistakes and assured the committee that there would be no further problems and that the city would experience greater efficiencies when the project was completed. Alderman Tomala said he was not satisfied with the description of the errors and fixes. He said he wanted more specificity about the technology failure and the failures that resulted in the unintended bills. Mr. Bethke said that the print file was a data file, the same as a regular cycle billing file. An employee within the testing team sent the file to the print vendor, which should have never happened. The print vendor is supposed to contact Fathom to verify that any file received is supposed to be printed and mailed, but they did not do that in this case. Alderman Nattori noted that the errors were requiring city staff to devote many additional man-hours to deal with these errors. Commissioner Wenberg confirmed that the workload on the office staff was more than anticipated. President Davis said the Fathom contract is supposed to reduce city staff workload and create savings for ratepayers. At this point, it appears neither have occurred. She agreed with Alderman Tomala that people needed better information to be reassured that the problem will not happen again. Treasurer Markowski said she agreed with Alderman Tomala. She said her office still did not have a single contact person at Fathom to quickly address issues. She expressed concern that Fathom apparently did not have adequate controls in place to prevent these errors. Mr. Bethke gave Treasurer Markowski several names for contacts depending upon the issue. He offered to work with the city departments to develop a punch list of needed improvements and put them in place. Alderman Nattori asked when the project started. Mr. Flaherty said it was around last August, but the transition was still in midstream and the final system was not fully in place. Alderman Nattori asked if the committee was willing to meet monthly to monitor the project going forward. He moved that the DPW committee meet monthly regarding the meter program with a Fathom representative present in order to maintain accountability to the ratepayers. The motion passed unanimously. Treasurer Markowski told the committee that Alderwoman Humphrey had asked about processing payments made on the erroneous bills. She said that 136 payments had been received and were credited to their accounts. She explained that everyone who came in to pay in person was told not to pay the bill, but many chose to do so anyway. Alderman Tamala asked City Attorney Bloomer if Fathom had breached their contract. Attorney Bloomer indicated that he would have to review the contract, but even if he had a response, it would be in executive session. Alderman Nattori moved to refer the Fathom contract to the city attorney. The motion passed unanimously. There being no other business, the committee adjourned at 7:08 p.m.
Okay. So we have two motions. The first was the DPW committee meet monthly regarding the meter program with a Fathom representative present in order to maintain the accountability of the ratepayers. It was seconded. Well, no, it hasn't, so it's been moved.
Second.
Okay. Is there any debate on that motion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Secondly, was Alderman Nattori moved to refer the Fathom contract to the city attorney. So we could move that.
Second.
Okay. Any debate? Pardon?
Rebecca.
Alderman Mattis and any debate on the motion to refer the contract to the city attorney?
If I may, I took it as a referral that was already in place, so I have reviewed the contract, and it's something that if you'd like to discuss, maybe we could bring it up under unfinished business. So a referral may not be necessary because I've already reviewed it, but if you can tell me that I wasted my time by voting no, I guess.
Well, we can vote on the motion to refer.
Sure.
All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Okay, thank you, Alderman Thomas. So, if you want to hear from the city attorney regarding what he has found in the contract, we will need to refer that or finish it under unfinished business, or is it going to be executive at all because it's a contract?
Yes, it would be executive session, yep.
So, next is Alderman DePoy Recreation Committee. I do not have your report, Alderman DePoy.
I
Chair.
passed it around, should have one.
Thank you. Alderman DePoy.
The Recreation Committee met on Tuesday, September 10th, 5:30 at the College of St. Joseph in Rutland. Committee members present were myself, Alderman Clifford, Humphrey, and Tamala. Others present were Mayor Allaire, Attorney Bloomer, Aldermans Davis, Ettore, and Ryan. Superintendent Kim Peters, Bob Peterson, Nicole Densmore, Britt Malgrim, Nikki Adams, Colleen Landon, and from St. Joe's, Dr. Jennifer Scott and Deb Fennell. The Recreation Committee met at St. Joe's to hear from Superintendent Peters about a possible collaboration between St. Joe's and the city regarding the city operating the athletic complex at the college on a short-term and potentially long-term basis. Deb Fennell from St. Joe's invited anyone interested to a tour at 5 o'clock of the facility, and then the committee met at 5:30 to hear from Superintendent Peters, Bob Peterson, President Scott, and Deb Fennell about whether the committee was interested in the rec department and college pursuing an agreement for the city rec department taking over operations of the facility. Some ideas were floated around as to how the rec would fund the operation and how the maintenance department would be able to take on a building of that size. Also, Bob Peterson gave the committee some preliminary assessments of the condition of the building, which seems to be in good shape. The building is approximately 24 to 25 years old and houses a gymnasium and several rooms for dance, weights, and locker rooms and offices. The building also has 2 racquetball courts. Out back of the building is a softball field / soccer field. The city would also take on a sizable parking lot for those using the facility. A straw poll of the committee was to approve of the rec department and mayor moving forward with negotiations with the college with the intent of the city rec department running the facility in the short term and hopes of running it long term. This report is for information only. No official vote was taken.
Any questions for Alderman DePoy? Okay. Thank you, Alderman Croy. Is there any other standing committee reports? Select committees, representatives. Alderman Whitcomb.
Sure, if I could, I just want to give a quick update on the Project Vision, in particular the Community Health Subcommittee. Within this group, there's about 6 subcommittees of that subcommittee. One of those being transportation, which we've recently just completed a comprehensive community survey looking at our resources that are available and where we could potentially make modifications. The next step is to hopefully take those forward and to see what we can do. And then ironically, as brought up tonight, we're looking at traffic safety and pedestrian movement as a component of transportation and how it can both adversely and positively impact that. The next subcommittee, homeless prevention, is focused on recovery residences, which is almost exactly as it sounds. This is transitional housing for people recovering from substance abuse, and we're looking at ways in which we can develop that further within the Rutland community. As part of the mentoring subgroup, there's an intense focus happening with the after-school programming. You may have heard talk in the community about 2 different models, an Icelandic model and a Finnish model. Essentially, they're similar, but what they're really focuses on the time that children spend away from either home or at school and what are they doing in that time. So this subgroup is kind of taking a big step in working at, well, how can they implement a program related to that? And then the last subgroup that I'd highlight is suicide prevention, which is working really hard on training people throughout Rutland County, really how to identify people who may be potentially suicidal and then how to respond to that in an appropriate way. And that's it.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Alderman Ryan.
Just to add on to Alderman Whitcomb's update with Project Vision, Officer Chuck Whitehead, who was in the CRT community response team, has moved to patrol, and Officer John Dickerson is now up in the Vision Center doing CRT.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, thank you very much for the update. So we are on to petitions, letters, and miscellaneous communications. First up is the special events permit for the Rutland Halloween 5K to be held October 26th in downtown Rutland. Need this, Alderman Mattis?
Move to suspend the rules.
Second.
All those in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Alderman Mattis.
And I move that the board approve the special events permit application for the Rutland Halloween 5K to be held in downtown Rutland on October 26th.
Second. Any debate? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We also have the one that we added, which is the Angel Walk, to be held September 29th from 11 a.m. to 2. That's to bring focus on child hunger. Alderman Mattis.
Move to suspend the rules.
Second. Second.
All those in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Alderman Mattis.
I move the board approve the special event permit application for Angel Walk to be held September 29th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Main Street Park.
Second.
Is there any debate?
Adam,
Alderman Gillen.
there's a person here from the organization.
Yes.
Barry
If there is
Meehan,
someone
if he wants
here.
to speak.
Yeah. There's someone here from Children's Watch. Welcome. Will you just state your name, please?
My name is Barry Meehan. I am the president of Gabriel's Children. This is a small event that we would like to gather people. Over the winter with Mr. Gillen, we worked on providing soup for the homeless. Over summer, we were working on free school lunches. And this is just an awareness of that there is a real hunger problem in our community. And at the same time, to bring children together. We are having a competition for the best dressed angels, and the age limit is 65. So, but I would urge you, if you know any children, to bring them along that morning if you approve of this request.
Great, thank you very much. We appreciate you being here. Is there any questions for Mr. Meehan? If not, there's a motion on the floor to approve. It's been seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. You're all set. Thank you very much. Okay, we are on to, we need a motion to go into the Board of Control Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We just have one, the outside consumption permit for Tasso's. just move to authorize the clerk to sign.
So moved.
Second.
Any debate on the motion to authorize the clerk to sign? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We need a motion to go out.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We are under unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business to come before the board? Alderman Dupre.
So, Madam Chair, it's my understanding that there is new information on the possible city running St. Joe's athletic facility. And I'd like to bring that up now and have Superintendent Peters just give us an update. My report earlier was simply about the meeting that we had last week. So from that day forward, I know that they, given that we did do a straw poll in the committee, and it seemed as though the committee and the members that were present there were interested in moving forward with the concept. So if I can ask Superintendent Peters to come up and just give an update. And I see Bob Peterson's here too, so if anything that he has to say, would like to hear.
I'm just gonna double check with the city attorney, because it is a contractual discussion, that it may be best in executive session.
Yeah, I mean, when we were meeting over at St. Joe's, I did ask the city attorney to kind of buffer anything if the committee or anyone there decided to start talking about possible contracts and stuff, to kind of advise us. But I'll leave it up to him and the superintendent and the mayor as to, what they need to present tonight in open meeting, and if there's if everything needs to be into executive session, then, if you can give me the wording, then we can do that, so. Great.
So let me just, before we know we have an issue with the College of St. Joe. We're going to get some guidance on going into executive session and the reason for. Alderman Tory, we have the Fathom contract that was, I don't know if we're wanting to pursue that in discussion.
I would definitely like to pursue that in discussion.
Okay.
That I had something.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, please.
That's right. So in a couple of the things that Tara Kelly brought up,
yes.
What was referenced was this recent housing study that was done. And it would be great if we had some strategic priorities coming from that. And so I know the RA did that, and it was funded partly by the hospital. And so again, I would ask, I don't know if it's a referral to RA or if the rep just brings it back, but I'd really like to see some movement coming from the study we paid for.
Right.
What are we doing about it? And because we're referring it to it when we're making decisions. So it'd be great to have a longer term vision around that.
Okay, so what's your pleasure? You're asking Alderman Whitcomb to just to bring back the information to the board.
That the board would like some.
Okay, we don't need, we can just
Did you get that?
ask Alderman Whitcomb to do that. So we're gonna, we know we're gonna pursue Fathom, College of St. Joe. Is there any other unfinished business to come before the board? Okay. Miscellaneous motions, resolutions, or new business? Alderman Humphrey.
Thank you. I would like to refer to committee, and I'm open to which committee this would be, a discussion about, our existing, mandate of a city health officer, which we have by title, as well as, the, creation of a city board of health commissioners. We talked about this a few years ago. It didn't come to fruition, and I think there's been some instances in the city recently where we may have been in a better position to act or act quicker if we had that board in place.
If I may, I think charter and ordinance is the proper place for it.
Okay, I would like to move that to charter and ordinance, please.
Okay. Any debate on the motion to refer? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Alderman Ryan?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that I attended the Police Commission meeting last Monday night, and Officer Jamie Ryda and Rick Caravaggio have completed their one-year probationary period, so they're officially full-time officers at RCPD.
Good, good. Anyone else? Miscellaneous motions, resolutions, new business. Alderman?
Just new business, the solid waste district, that now I'm a representative. The solid waste district manager is stepping down in October, and we're now in the process of looking for a new manager for the solid waste district, and I'm on the committee with Paul to find that new person, so that's about to happen.
Okay, good, thank you. Alderman Mattis.
Madam President, I wasn't certain if the pension board was ready to refer what we had talked about at the pension board to the board.
No, I don't believe so. There's, I think, another discussion to occur at the pension level, then it will to refer. Right, right. Anything else? Okay, so I'm going to look to you, City Attorney Bloomer.
Okay, yeah, and I think I would suggest having the recreation discussion first because we've got 3 executive sessions and the latter 2 involve DPW. So the motion to discuss the gymnasium contract would be to find that premature general public knowledge regarding the negotiation of a contract would clearly place the city at a substantial disadvantage because the discussion will divulge the board's position on the contract provisions to be negotiated.
So moved.
Second.
Any debate on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries.
And then a motion to enter into executive session with the inclusion of the mayor, recreation superintendent, director of maintenance, treasurer, and city attorney to discuss the negotiation of a contract as allowed under Title I, Section 313A1A.
So moved.
Second.
Any debate on that motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. We'll stand down for a few minutes while we clear the room for executive session.